Welcome to the Clean Slate podcast, brought to you by clearrank.com.
Today, we're taking a look at TradeLocker, a trading platform that's been generating a lot of buzz.
We ran TradeLocker through our clear score evaluation, and, we found some things that traders should be aware of.
Yeah, it's always wise to look a little closer at these platforms, especially when they're claiming to be the next generation.
Absolutely. Their marketing is very slick, all about AI and a streamlined interface. But what did our testing actually uncover?
The reality, well, it didn't quite live up to the hype. One of the first red flags we noticed was the types of brokers that are partnering with TradeLocker.
And why is that a concern?
Well, a lot of these brokers, they aren't regulated, which means they operate with less oversight, and that translates to fewer protections for your funds as a trader.
So less security for the trader.
Exactly, and that's a really significant factor in our clear score. We really believe that traders deserve transparency and, most importantly, security when it comes to their investments.
Absolutely. And on top of that, we found that TradeLocker's platform stability was a bit shaky.
Yeah, we did our stress tests, especially during events when the market was volatile, and we found some pretty concerning crashes and lag. You really wouldn't want to be in the middle of a crucial trade and have the platform freeze up on you.
Not ideal,
Mm.
especially for a platform that's positioning itself as the future of trading.
It seems like they may have prioritized a sleek look over building a truly reliable foundation.
Right. Now, to be fair, TradeLocker does have a few bright spots. Let's talk about the integration with TradingView charts.
Yeah, that's definitely a plus. TradingView is a popular charting platform, especially with experienced traders. It gives access to a huge number of indicators, over 100, and a wide range of drawing tools.
So a pretty powerful set of tools to have available.
It is, but even with this integration, we found a couple of issues. Our team actually noticed some lag when using shorter time frames, like the ones that scalpers would use.
So not quite as smooth as it could be.
Right, and there was another thing that was a little annoying. The custom chart templates would reset anytime you switched to a different device.
Oh, those little annoyances that can really interrupt your flow.
Exactly.
So let's move on to execution speed. How did TradeLocker perform in that area?
Well, to test that, we used our proprietary execution tracker technology. We measured the execution speeds across various brokers who use TradeLocker, and how do I put it? The results were a mixed bag.
Mixed bag. How so?
Well, in normal market conditions, we saw an average execution time of 0.4 seconds, which is actually quite respectable.
Okay, that sounds pretty fast.
Yeah, it is. But remember those volatile market events that caused the platform to crash? Well, during those, the average execution time jumped up to 2.4 seconds.
Wow, that's a big difference.
Yeah, it is. And even more concerning was that even in those normal market conditions, the spreads that these brokers were offering, particularly on those major currency pairs like the euro-US dollar, those spreads were wider than what you would find with top-tier regulated brokers that use other platforms.
So you could be paying more in fees even when the platform is working fine.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what our testing showed, and it highlights the importance of really carefully choosing your broker.
Definitely. Speaking of features,
Yeah.
let's talk about the AI-driven algo trading that TradeLocker has. It's a pretty recent addition, right?
Yeah, it's still in beta testing, which is a little surprising considering that they market themselves as a cutting-edge platform. You'd think that automated trading would be something they'd have from the get-go.
So what's the verdict on the algo trading then?
Well, the idea is there, and they do have a tool that lets you create bots without needing to code. But it's pretty limited when you compare it to platforms that have been around longer, like MT4, MT5, CTrader, or AlgoTrader.
Can you give some examples of the limitations?
Sure, so take their back testing feature, the one that lets you test trading strategies using past data. It only goes back 6 months. Can you imagine trying to test a long-term strategy with just 6 months of data?
That doesn't sound very useful.
Not really, especially when platforms like MT4 give you access to more than 10 years of historical data. Plus, those algo trading bots on TradeLocker, well, they weren't immune to the crashes we talked about earlier.
It seems like reliability is a recurring issue here.
It does, yeah.
All right, let's shift gears and look at risk management tools. What does TradeLocker offer in that area?
Honestly, this is another area where TradeLocker just doesn't stack up, at least compared to what's considered the industry standard.
What are some of the things they're missing?
Well, even basic features like trailing stops, the ones that help lock in profits, weren't there until just recently. They finally added them, but the fact that they weren't there to begin with is a little concerning. And then you've got the margin alerts.
Could you explain what margin alerts are for anyone who might not know?
Sure, margin alerts are notifications that tell you when your account is getting close to being liquidated because of losses. They're absolutely crucial for managing risk.
So what's the problem with TradeLocker's margin alerts?
Our tests showed that these alerts only went off when you hit 90% account utilization. That's way too late, especially if you're trading volatile assets like crypto.
So you're saying a trader could lose a huge chunk of their funds before they even get a warning.
That's the risk, and it suggests that they haven't really prioritized protecting traders from losses that could be avoided.
Seems like we've covered a lot, and TradeLocker might not be all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. The lack of regulation among the brokers they partner with, the instability of the platform, and the gaps in crucial areas like algo trading and risk management, it's a pretty concerning picture.
Yet they're still managing to attract new brokers. Why do you think that is?
I think it comes down to two main things. Their white label model, which makes it really easy and fairly cheap for new brokers to set up shop. And, well, let's be honest, some brokers might be drawn to the fact that there's less oversight in an unregulated environment.
It's unfortunate, but not entirely surprising.
It's a part of the trading world. You'll always find those who try to exploit the loopholes for their own benefit.
And that makes it even more important for traders to do their homework and choose their platforms and brokers very carefully.
I couldn't agree more.
Now, it's important to remember that TradeLocker, the platform, is separate from the brokers that use it, right?
Absolutely. That's an important distinction that people often forget. It's kind of like the difference between a car and the person driving it.
Could you explain that a bit more for our listeners?
Sure. Imagine that TradeLocker is the car's dashboard. It gives you all the tools you need, like the charts, the order buttons, the risk management features. But the broker, they're the engine, the ones actually making it go. They're the ones who handle your money, execute the trades, and set the rules.
So, TradeLocker provides the dashboard, but they don't actually control what the engine does.
Exactly. And that's where things can get a little tricky, because some brokers might be tempted to, let's just say, mess around under the hood.
What do you mean by mess around under the hood?
Well, we've seen cases where brokers that use TradeLocker, they advertise zero spreads, which sounds great, right? But then they add hidden fees in other places, like when you withdraw money. It's like they give you a car with a free GPS, but then charge you a fortune to open the door.
It's always important to read the fine print.
Always. You've got to make sure you understand those terms and conditions and never be afraid to ask questions. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
And speaking of things that sound too good to be true, let's discuss TradeLocker's credit system.
Yeah, the credits, often marketed as bonuses, those always grab people's attention.
Can you explain how this credit system actually works?
So basically, these credits aren't actual money. They're not something you can withdraw. What they do is give you more buying power so you can trade with bigger positions than your account balance would normally allow.
So it's almost like leverage on top of leverage.
It's similar, yeah. And that's where the danger comes in, because it can give you this false sense of security and make you take on more risk than you can actually handle.
Have you seen any brokers using this credit system in a concerning way?
Unfortunately, yes. Some of the unregulated brokers who work with TradeLocker have been using these bonus credits in a misleading way.
Can you give us an example?
Sure, we've seen cases where brokers offer a 100% or even a 200% bonus on your initial deposit. You put in $1,000, and they give you an extra $1,000 or even $2,000 in credits.
That sounds really tempting, but also potentially dangerous.
It is, and that's the idea. They use it as a way to get traders, especially those who are new, to deposit more than they plan to.
But it's essentially fake money that's making their account balance look bigger than it really is.
Exactly. And what's worse is that these credits can distort your perception of how you're actually doing as a trader.
Yeah.
Your account looks like it's worth more because of those credits, which you can't even withdraw, so you might think you're making way more money than you really are.
So someone might think they're a fantastic trader when they're actually just benefiting from borrowed money.
Exactly. And when those credits disappear, you're left with the real losses.
A cautionary tale for our listeners. Be careful with these bonus credit offers, especially from brokers that aren't regulated.
Absolutely. Stick to reputable brokers, the ones that are regulated, who are upfront about their fees and conditions, and don't use these gimmicks to get clients.
All right, so let's take a look at TradeLocker's plans for the future. They have a roadmap that outlines new features and improvements for 2025.
Yeah, they do, and at first glance it looks promising, but if you look closer, you'll see that most of these new features are things that other platforms already have, like MT4, MT5, and CTrader.
So they're playing catch-up rather than really innovating.
Exactly. For example, they're talking about adding a break-even stop-loss feature, but that's already a standard feature on those other platforms and has been for years.
What about their social mode? It sounds like that could be something new and exciting.
Again, it's been done before, and maybe even better, by the competition. CTrader and MT5 already have copy trading built in, and MetaTrader offers a signal service where you can copy the trades of experienced traders.
So not exactly groundbreaking then.
Not really. It feels like they're just ticking boxes, trying to get to the level of functionality that's expected in the industry right now.
Okay, let's do a head-to-head comparison. TradeLocker versus the industry standard, MetaTrader 4. How do they compare?
To be honest, it's not even a fair fight. When you look at things like platform type, the charting tools, the assets they support, their automated trading, community support, stability of trade, social trading features, customizing stop-loss orders, regulation, what the pros prefer, and which brokers are using them, MetaTrader 4 comes out on top in every single category.
It's like comparing a bicycle to a sports car.
That's a good way to put it. TradeLocker might have the flashy looks, but when it comes to what it can do and how reliable it is, it just doesn't measure up.
And that seems to be reflected in their overall popularity as well, right?
Absolutely. We used Ahrefs, a top SEO tool, to do some website audits, and the results were pretty clear. MetaTrader 4 has much higher domain authority, 8 times the organic traffic, and a significantly wider global reach.
So it seems that in the eyes of the public, MetaTrader 4 is the clear winner.
Without a doubt, it's the platform that serious traders and regulated brokers all over the world choose to use.
Now, for those listening who might be thinking, wait a minute, I'm using a TradeLocker broker. What should I do?
The first thing is, don't panic, but you should definitely take steps to protect yourself.
What would you recommend?
Keeping records of everything is crucial. Make sure you're saving all your trade logs, any chats you have, payment receipts, anything that could be used as evidence if you have a dispute.
And what if there is a dispute?
Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. Get in touch with TradeLocker's support and ask for your API logs. Those logs can help show who owns your trades and what happened with them, which can be really important if you're trying to resolve a problem.
And if that doesn't work?
You might have to think about legal action. You can file complaints with regulators even if the broker isn't regulated. And you can look into things like chargebacks.
So document everything, be assertive, and don't be afraid to explore legal options if you need to.
Exactly. Remember, the more you know, the more power you have, the better informed you are, the better prepared you'll be to handle these situations.
All right, time for the big reveal. What is TradeLocker's final clear score?
Drum roll, please. TradeLocker gets a disappointing score of 1.5 out of 5, which means it doesn't get our clear certification.
That's a pretty low score.
It is, but it reflects the serious concerns we have about this platform. The fact that they work with unregulated brokers, the technical problems, the misleading way they use credits, the weak automation features, the lack of real innovation, and the roadmap that seems more focused on catching up than leading the way, it all adds up to a failing grade.
I think the takeaway here is pretty clear. Buyer beware.
Absolutely. Don't be fooled by flashy marketing or promises of getting rich quick. Do your research, choose your platform and broker carefully, and make sure you prioritize security, stability, and ethical practices.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Now, what's next for TradeLocker? Is there any chance they can redeem themselves?
Their roadmap does suggest some potential for improvement, but they have a lot of work to do. They need to fix those fundamental problems we talked about, starting with cutting ties with those shady, unregulated brokers and building a platform that's truly robust and reliable.
And until they do that.
We strongly recommend sticking to platforms that have earned our clear certification, like MT5 or CTrader. With those platforms, regulation and reliability are top priorities.
And for those who want to know more about TradeLocker or any other broker or platform, where should they go?
Just head over to clearrank.com. We have detailed reviews, comparisons, and all the information you need to make smart trading decisions.
That's clearrank.com, your one-stop shop for clear information in the world of online trading.
We're here to help you understand the complicated parts, avoid the traps, and find the perfect trading environment for you.
That's great. So on that note, we'll wrap up our look at TradeLocker.
But before we go, I want to leave our listeners with a thought. Picking the right platform and broker is important, yes. But choosing a trading strategy that fits your goals and your risk tolerance is just as crucial.
That's a great point.
Don't fall for the latest trading trends or promises of making money overnight. Instead, work on building a solid understanding of the markets, learn how to manage risk effectively, and find a trading style that matches your personality and your goals.
Some wise words to end on, so to all our listeners out there, happy trading and stay informed.
Remember, knowledge is power. When it comes to trading, the more you know, the better your chances of success. And, sometimes that means stepping back from the flashy new stuff and looking at what's been proven to work.
For sure. There's a reason why platforms like MetaTrader 4 have been around for so long.
Right, they do what they say they're going to do, they're dependable, and they've got the support of all the big brokers in the industry.
And we can't forget about the community aspect.
That's a really good point. With a platform like MetaTrader 4, you're not just getting the software. You're joining a whole network of traders, people who develop for it, educators. It's a big deal.
It's like the whole world built around it.
Exactly. There are tons of resources out there, like forums, blogs, expert advisors, custom indicators, all sorts of stuff.
So if you're new to trading, that kind of support can be super valuable.
Absolutely.
All right, so we've talked about doing your research, checking for regulation, and thinking about those well-established platforms. But let's get down to brass tacks. What are some specific warning signs our listeners should look out for when they're trying to figure out if a broker or a platform is trustworthy?
Well, as we've already discussed, regulation is really important. It's what provides that oversight and accountability that protects your money.
So if a broker isn't regulated by a reputable authority, that's a no-go right from the start.
Exactly. Stay away. Another red flag is when they offer way too much leverage.
Can you talk about why leverage can be risky for traders?
Sure, leverage is a tool, and it can make your profits bigger, but it can also make your losses bigger. If you see a broker offering crazy high leverage, like 500 to 1 or even 1,000 to 1, that's a bad sign. It probably means they're not really looking out for you.
It's like they're encouraging people to trade recklessly.
Exactly. Responsible brokers, they'll offer leverage that's appropriate for your experience and how much risk you're comfortable with.
Another thing we've heard a lot about is trouble with withdrawals. Some people have had really bad experiences trying to get their money out of certain brokers.
Yeah, that's a common complaint, especially with brokers that aren't regulated. So if you see a bunch of bad reviews or complaints about a broker's withdrawal process, that's a big red flag.
So it's worth taking the time to do your research. Check those online forums, read the reviews, see what other traders are saying.
Exactly. And don't just look at the good reviews. Pay attention to the negative ones, too. They often give you a more realistic picture.
Now, what about customer support? How important is that in the grand scheme of things?
It's crucial. You want a broker who's responsive, helpful, and easy to get a hold of when you need them.
So it's a good idea to test them out before you commit to anything.
Exactly. Send them an email, give them a call, see how long it takes them to get back to you and how they handle your questions.
And if they take forever to respond or brush off your concerns, that's another red flag.
Absolutely. You want a broker who values your business and is there to help you every step of the way.
Okay, so we've covered the basics: regulation, leverage, withdrawal issues, customer support. Are there any less obvious warning signs that our listeners might not know about?
Well, one thing to keep an eye out for is a lack of transparency. If a broker is being vague about their fees, their execution policies, or how they manage risk, that's not a good sign.
They should be upfront about how they operate.
Exactly. You should feel like you understand everything clearly.
What about conflicts of interest? How can traders spot those?
That can be tough, but one thing that might signal a conflict of interest is if a broker keeps pushing you towards certain products or strategies that seem really risky or way more complicated than they need to be.
It's like they're getting something out of selling you something that might not be good for you.
Exactly. Always do your own research, and don't be afraid to get a second opinion from an independent financial advisor.
Now, what about account security? How can traders make sure their money is protected?
Choose a broker that has strong security measures in place, things like two-factor authentication, encryption, and segregated accounts.
Can you explain what segregated accounts are and why they're important?
Sure, segregated accounts mean that your money is kept separate from the broker's own operating funds. So even if the broker were to go bankrupt, your money would still be safe.
That's a really important safeguard.
Absolutely, and it's something that all reputable brokers will offer.
So we've talked a lot about red flags, but I want to end this section on a positive note. What are some green flags, some signs that you found a broker or a platform that you can trust?
Well, first of all, look for good reviews from other traders, and not just on the broker's own website, but on independent platforms and forums.
So seeing what other people are saying is important.
It is. It's a good sign that a broker is treating their clients fairly.
Now, what about educational resources? Is that a good sign?
Definitely. Brokers that invest in educating their clients, they're usually the ones who are in it for the long haul. They want you to succeed because if you do well, they do well.
So things like webinars, tutorials, articles, that all shows that they're committed to helping you learn and become a better trader.
Exactly. And lastly, look for a broker that shares your values. If things like ethical practices, sustainability, or social responsibility are important to you, choose a broker who believes in those things too.
That's a really good point.
Mhm.
It shows that they care about more than just making money.
Exactly.
So to sum it all up, choosing the right broker or platform is a huge first step in your trading journey.
It's the foundation that your success is built on.
Don't rush it. Do your homework, ask questions, and make a smart choice.
And remember, the right broker or platform is out there, one that fits your needs, your values, and your goals. And remember, even once you've found that right broker, that's just the beginning.
Yeah, it's like you've gotten your driver's license, but you still got to learn how to drive.
That's a really good analogy. Trading, it's a constant learning process.
Definitely. The markets, they're always changing. New strategies are popping up. There's always something new to learn.
Absolutely. So, stay curious, keep yourself informed, and never stop learning.
And don't be afraid to try new things. Experiment a little.
That's how you grow as a trader. But, and this is really important, always manage your risk.
That's like the golden rule of trading, right?
It is, yeah. Never risk more than you can afford to lose.
And always have a plan.
Exactly. Your entry point, your exit point, what your profit target is, your stop loss level, and you stick to your strategy.
Discipline is so important.
It's what separates the successful traders from the rest.
And it's good to remember that trading, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly, yeah. Don't let those setbacks or losses get you down. They're just part of the process.
Exactly. Learn from those mistakes, adjust your strategy, and just keep moving forward.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And you know what? Above all, try to enjoy it.
I agree. Trading can be tough, but it can also be really rewarding.
It's a journey, you're discovering yourself, pushing your limits, working towards your financial goals.
Absolutely. So embrace the challenge, stay focused, and never give up on those dreams.
Well said.
And on that note, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Clean Slate podcast.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
We hope you found it helpful, like always.
And if you're ever looking for clear and reliable information about online trading, you know where to find us, clearrank.com.
Clear data, honest reviews, that's what we're all about at ClearRank.
Until next time, happy trading.